A long way. Yeah. I've got a little bit on my finger. It dries very well. It's actually quite a nice, durable product, but you will notice that when we just use it with the mixing liquid, it only really looks shiny on areas that are sort of smooth and hairless. So the places it'll look really shiny will be like on the top of her chest here, on her shins, on the insides of her arms, places like that. On guys, it's much harder to make it look shiny because they're obviously usually a bit hairier. And also the thing that is quite cool is hands with this on. Hands and feet, areas with lots of wrinkles, look really fascinating. I suppose it's like seeing an extremely detailed gold model, gold statue. And I've done this quite a few times on dancers and things like that, and it's pretty good. I don't tend to bother setting it, even when I'm working in Hong Kong. You'll hear lots of people talking about setting makeup before or after. There's products you can put on to stop people sweating. We don't tend to advise that because obviously sweating is the way that the body cools itself down, and if you stop your body sweating, it's going to try and find other ways to make itself feel better, and that will usually result in your model fainting because she's trying to cool down or whatever. So this product, as I said, pretty good. You can see it's really fast, even with a much smaller brush than we'd usually use. And again, I wouldn't really advise using a sponge either because sponges take ages.
Yeah, they do.
Or should we do, no, tell you what, let's do oil on this half, shall we? You're doing it halfway down the middle.
Yep.
Yeah, that'll look quite cool. Is that alright? We do oil on one side and...
Look forward to it.
Well, then we don't have to do your back. So you can still sit down if you want to. So had the bright idea of doing this in a cup, so hopefully you can see it a bit better. So that's a little bit of the gold powder. Just be really careful, it's so fine it flies up as you open the pot, it flies up if you breathe on it. For heaven's sake, don't be working in a breeze or sneeze on it or anything, you'll be in a cloud of gold.
A bit like glitter.
Yeah, a bit like glitter, yeah. All I'm going to do is add some baby oil, so whichever generic baby oil you use. I have seen people use vegetable oil as well, but to be honest, baby oil is so cheap. Sorry, that's my baby having a whinge next door.
What did you do with my baby oil?
I'm a terrible mother. I'm just going to mix a little bit in. Oh, you can't see now because it's all... No, I give up. It's just coating the inside. But I'm just going to keep doing the same as I was doing with the body, with the mixing liquid paint. Oh, that looks cool.
That's great.
I'm just going to keep adding the gold until I get a nice gold. And then paint it on. So Jenny's side, she's using the mixing liquid.
Meron, yeah.
Which will set dry and touchable. So other thing we should say is generally we'd have our model sitting down as much as possible, but we know that this is going to take less than an hour, so Gracie's volunteered to stand up just so that we can set the camera up in one place and not have to keep moving it if we stood her up and sat her down. But do think about your model's comfort, because of course, as well as the time that they have to spend standing for you to paint them, they're then going to be standing or posing for photos or whatever activity. Yeah, they could be working. So I did do a bit of an experiment last year with the gold mix actually, where I did a Borg mashup with it. And I tried to paint over it just to see if it was possible, and it didn't really work. It kind of spread. The other thing that you can of course do, but we probably won't ask Gracie to do, is just get your model to rub herself all over with this golden oil.
That's next time.
That's it. Oh, sorry, Jenny.
You're chucking it at me.
I am. It's just dripping. It's dripping off one of the tips. Oh, look at your boob covers. So you can
see the difference.
Yeah, you can see the
shininess.
difference. So these are your two options, basically. And I am going to do an experiment at some point where I mix the two. Because I've heard that you can get a kind of sticky, so not quite wet, not quite dry, halfway in between mix. Oh, should mention that it's not advised to use the mixing liquids or the Magiset liquid for whichever brand, sort of on the face or near the eyes. Just because although they are cosmetic, they do contain, I think one of them contains urea, I forget what the other one is. Anyway, it's something that will make your eyes, it can be a bit irritating, a bit weepy. So what I tend to do is just use the powder dry with like a blusher brush or an eyeshadow brush over the face, and it has a pretty seamless blend then, rather than trying to match up their face with trying to find a brand of face paint or something, or body paint, solid paint that matches. It doesn't really happen. Out of shot, because I don't really need anyone to be watching me paint this bit.
Gosh, it's absolutely beautiful.
Isn't it?
See, if we just had this, it would still look impressive, and
Yes.
especially when a flash goes off, it will
Yes.
bounce off. You're all right, you're warm enough.
Oh yeah.
But when you see the difference to that,
Yeah. For wow effect, definitely the right hand side.
yeah.
But for practicality and working, if your model was going to be like a living statue or a meter and greeter at an event, I would go with the left hand side, which is the Meron with the mixing liquid, and that alone, mixed up obviously to the consistency that's right for your model.
Gracie. What should I say? Yeah, I don't always bother. Like, you can get gold hairsprays, all sorts,
Yes.
but quite often they don't match. And I have noticed that even just, I'm pretty much kind of just brushing gold across the hair, and it doesn't catch all the hair. I mean, Jenny's done a brilliant job getting this quite flat, so she used like gel and all sorts to get the hair as flat as possible, as smooth as possible. Sorry Gracie, it's all going in your ears. Yeah, wetly. But even just with like some strands of the hair catching the gold and some not, it's believable. It will kind of fool the eye enough that people will just see a gold model, not a slightly gold model hair look. And if you are really bothered, of course, you could spend hours, well, not hours, but a while.
You could always use an airbrush as well with a gold through it to do the hair. When I did Mystique on Gracie, which is going to be a tutorial that is next on our list to do, I used Chameleon UV Orange through the airbrush to cover her hair.
Yeah.
And I'm not particularly an airbrush artist. It's great for that and for stenciling things. For me, anyway.
Yeah. So as said,
I'm no Alex Hansen.
about that far onto her face, just because the baby oil is a bit smelly. And then what I'll do is with a dry brush, we'll fill in all around her eyes and her lips, just like it's like, basically gold powder is pretty much powder eyeshadow. Gosh, Ray, shush.
Just shut that door.
I won't go dancing in the rain with my mum. Make it look wrong.
That would look cool on the oil side though.
Yeah.
Get little droplets.
That's true.
Right, so you'll notice that I'm quite often mixing up the paint again before I use it, and I have added a few bits more of the gold powder now and then, because it does seem to sort of thin down.
So what do you usually do with using the gold on the face, Kat? Just explain again.
I just get the dry powder and just dry like blusher brush or something.
Just a blusher brush.
So it matches the setting liquid mix really well. It probably won't do quite so well on the gold lip, the gold oil.
Right. Doing now is I'm just using a blusher brush. Mine just happens to be a Real Techniques brush, and just with the dry powder, just dusting it across Gracie's face. Because as Kat explained earlier, the mixing liquid is not, it contains a product that could irritate your eyes, and obviously we want the model to feel as comfortable as possible. And as you can see, just